Gonna go ahead and clean up that area really well. And you can see it's filthy. The mill coats it in oil to prevent it from rusting, and then morning everybody, Michael with Juggernaut Weld Fab. Today we're going to go over some tips or little tidbits on notching chromoly tubing, preparation, getting it prepped up, and then we'll go over some tips on TIG welding it that might make your life easier. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I've got some 086 wall chromoly tubing, and what we're going to do is we're going to get it chucked up in our notcher. Okay, so I just set up my vise at 75 degrees, saying that I want a 15-degree angle, right? 75 degrees. 90 minus 15 is 75. So I've got it set up at 75 degrees. What I want to do now is mark my tubing. You always want to index your tubing. So I'm going to mark it straight up and down so that when we go to notch the other side, we know the proper location. If you have this clocked by 3 or 4 degrees, they're not going to line up. Your notches are not going to line up. So what we're going to do is get this thing set up. And I used a hole saw notcher for years. I think it was a Trick Tools brand. Hole saw notcher for years, and finally moved up to this Mittler Brothers Pro. But if you don't have a machine like this, that's okay. This is going to apply to any form of notching, whether you're using an angle grinder and a flap disc or a belt sander type notcher. It all pertains, it all correlates. So what we're going to do, get this thing powered on. Excuse the noise. Go ahead and start feeding my material in. I kind of just let it eat. I don't put a ton of pressure on it. And I try to move along the end mill as we're notching. And what you're looking for, how you know you've got your notch deep enough, is at the point that it's not changing anymore. Okay, this ear on the side is cut as far as it'll cut. Okay. These tubings are a little oily, so got a little smoke coming off that. Now I'm going to back that off. Okay, now this is the important part. This is why we're going over this today. Now with these end mill notchers, they use a roughing end mill, which is obviously very rough finish. Okay, going from that to something that is weldable is what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so let me go grab my safety glasses and we'll get to it. Okay, today we're going to be using our belt grinder. But again, you can use a flap disc and a grinder to do this as well, as long as you don't get too aggressive. You can see the wall thickness here, right? And then you can see as you get on this ear, it's much thinner. That's what we're going to focus on. So go ahead and okay, so well, we've got all that excess off, but this is still not going to weld great. What we want to do is we want these ears to match this wall thickness. We want to peel this ear all the way back, even though it looks like it would flow smooth. I'm telling you, if you can get the entire thing to the same wall thickness, your weld appearance is gonna be much better. And now you can see these ears are now the same thickness as the wall, as the notch. But we've still got mill scale, okay? Depending on your supplier, your steel supplier, yours may have a lot of mill scale, yours may not. Ours does. So I'm gonna take the slack part of the belt, not the platen. If you grind against this platen, you're going to get the material way too thin. So what I do is I take and go against the slack part of the belt. Okay, now, as you can see, I've got all the mill scale cleaned off of the portions where I want it, and I didn't take the wall thickness down too much either. So hit it a little more. And that is what you're looking for. We take our other piece of 1 5/8. That's what you're looking for, that kind of fit up. Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and clean up our other piece of material. What I like to use is a 3M Scotch-Brite pad on a 2-inch die grinder. These tend to clean the mill scale off really well without leaving deep scratches into the material. Another tip is when you're cleaning your mill scale off of your chromoly, if you go in this direction, you're going to leave grooves in it, okay? It's better to go in this direction around the tubing and get a much better appearance. Okay, got all of our mill scale off. I'm going to go ahead and take a little more off of this. That's what your fit up should look like. Nice and tight. Okay. Tight, clean. Next step, we've got some acetone here. We're going to go ahead and clean up that area really well. And you can see it's filthy. The mill coats it in oil to prevent it from rusting. And then if you use any type of lubricant while you're notching, then you may have some inside the tubing as well. So it's always a good idea to go ahead and clean that up. Okay, so we've got our material nice and clean. It's time to weld it up. We're going to be using ER70S2, and I'll probably go in with an 045 diameter filler rod. Another small tech tip, these deburring tools, you can find them on Amazon or wherever. They work awesome for cleaning up the burrs on the inside of the tubing. When you notch this, you're going to have some burrs in there, and then you go to clean it, and the rag gets stuck to it, and then you've got fuzzies all over it, right? So if you go in here with this deburring tool, clean out all those burrs, no more sharp edges, that's going to weld up beautifully. Today we'll be using our GL18 EDGE TIG Welding Cup, and we're going to be using a 1/16 diameter 2% lanthanated tungsten. That's the light blue. You can use the blue for AC and DC, so it's kind of my go-to. Be running our gas at probably 45 CFH. Let's get to it. Again, we're going to be using an ER70S2 rod, and it is 45 thousandths thick. We've got a tack on this side. We're going to go ahead and get a tack on the other side before it pulls. And if you're trying to TIG weld close to a magnet, it will pull your arc away. You'll have a ton of arc stray. So I'm getting my puddle established quickly. Getting in and getting out quickly. If you don't establish that puddle within 1 to 2 seconds, you're probably going to overheat the material. Turn my gas flow up just a little bit. Go ahead and hold your torch there until your post flow stops. As you can see, I went a little bit hotter here and just traveled really fast. So that's okay though. This thing turn around. I'm a little unsteady because I'm standing up doing this. So now you can see now you can see that with that edge peeled back to the same thickness like we did earlier, it welded in consistently and evenly. If we would have left that edge sharp and thin, it would have wanted to peel back on you while you're trying to weld it. Okay, so there was another tidbit on TIG welding chromoly. We went over notching and prepping today, and we went ahead and welded this up with the ER70S2, 0.45 thousandths thick. And of course, we always use our Everlast 255 EXT. and our EDGE Welding Cups. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you learned anything useful, or if you just want to make fun of me.